Harry Kane, Mason Mount, and Declan Rice. Man United looking at all three of them players. What's your initial gut reaction to the link to all three of those individuals?
I don't know. I think Harry Kane, yeah, I get that. He's a proper goal scorer, running down a dead end at Tottenham, looking for a way out. I think he missed his move to City. Now City's got Haaland. We don't need him. I don't think Liverpool need him. I don't think he goes to Arsenal. I think Man United's a great option for him. But the other two, not really. I can't see it. Mason Mount, it's never been a... I don't think he's ever been a great favourite player of mine. I think he's okay, but you know, if he was that well revered, why is Chelsea, with all the money they've got, why are they not keeping him there? You know what I mean? Why are they not breaking the bank and keeping him? Whether he just needs a fresh link up, I don't know. But I think Mason Mount's bullshit. I think Declan Rice, bullshit. I think Harry Kane maybe have legs. Linked with Neymar as well. You know what I mean? So it's silly season, isn't it? They're thinking Man United's getting took over, maybe. Let's throw a few mad names, get the fans riled up again, or maybe distract the fans from what's really going on there. So I don't know. I can't see I can see Man United going for Kane, I'll be honest. And I think that'd be a great signing for them. But the other two, I don't see it. I see Declan Rice at Arsenal. I can see Mason Mount at Liverpool.
And I love what you said there. I think on the Harry Kane deal, there's a few strands to this. Man United keep pushing this out that he is the number one target this summer, and he is our priority target this summer, and they want to get it done quickly. I have no idea how you get things done quickly with Daniel Levy. However, what's come out today is really interesting. The story that's come out today from some, I'm told, and you can only go by what people from that region tell you, from some sort of fairly reliable sources in Madrid, that Harry Kane has now been offered to Real Madrid, and they're studying the potential move for the striker. And I think what's really interesting about that is that I feel like Harry Kane has made a transfer request to his team and said, I want to go this summer. It didn't work out 2 summers ago to Man City for one reason or another, but I've got to get out now. And look, Real Madrid, they come in for him. They can certainly turn his head, but I do believe he wants to break that Premier League record. And I think Man United have got to almost use that to their advantage. Although you watched Real Madrid against you, I know he isn't going to give them any more speed, but they need more quality in that team in terms of getting back to being a great side. They're a good team. They're a very good team, but you were just a level above them. And I think that they need players like Harry Kane, like Mbappe as an example, Jude Bellingham that's going in. They need that. But yeah, for me, look, I think Man United will sign Harry Kane. This is not an in the know sort of guess or anything. This is just me as a football fan. I think Harry Kane in a Man United shirt is absolutely written in the stars. Declan Rice, do you think Arsenal will pay the £100 million, or do you feel like West Ham are kind of using Man United here to try and drum that up and create a bit of a bidding war? Do you think that's what's going on a little bit?
Yeah, if I'm West Ham chairman, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting everyone on the case, bigging Declan Rice up tremendous. And if Jude Bellingham's going for X, Y, Z, then I'm saying, well, he plays alongside Declan Rice in England midfield, you know what I mean? But I don't know. It is what it is. I think Declan Rice just needs to move on now. I can see Chelsea maybe going in for him, but Chelsea are just linked with everyone. This Fernandes guy, yeah, what did he cost?
What, 120, 130 million?
There you go, right? Well, let me tell you this. I watched Manchester City's third team beat them the other day 1-0, and they are shit. And I mean shit. I watched him running around in midfield. Awful guy. Crap. And I'll tell you what, they're doomed, man, them. They are doomed. Raheem Sterling was buzzing because City fans gave him a round of applause. It was embarrassing. And the Chelsea, just all that argument, yeah, you can do anything with money. Well, let me tell you this, you fucking can't, because they spent 600 million and they are absolute dog shit of a team. That Fernandes looks well out of his depth. I've seen him spray a ball about 3 to 4 times this season where I thought, that wasn't a bad pass. But for 130 million, he's not getting grip of games. He's not controlling it. He's not winning midfield battles against anyone. No one's coming off the pitch saying, fucking hell, I've had a rough afternoon today. That Fernandes has smashed me all over the park. I've seen better performances from Fred and McTominay at United than him. And that's true. I'm not trolling. It's fucking true.
No,
I'm
no,
not
no.
trolling.
It just made me laugh. It just made me
I
laugh.
just like if Man City had bought a midfielder for 130 million like him, and he was putting in them performances like he's doing, we'd be ripped apart about ruining football and that. But do you know what I mean? But you know, we sign Ilkay Gundogan for 20 million. You know what I mean? That's the levels of this shit. That guy Fernandez is horrendous, mate. Horrendous. That Todd Bowley just fell for the World Cup hype on that. If he's worth 130 million, what's Alvarez worth? You know what I mean? The Alvarez, young kid, 17 goals in 22 starts, first season in the Premier League, won the World Cup. Got to be worth 200 million on them prices.
Do you feel like Enzo Fernandez will improve next year when they have, well, I say a better manager? I know you don't rate Poch, but so you don't think there's much chance he's going to get better?
Well, there's obviously a player in there because he won the World Cup, so we know he's a. But what I'm saying is, at the minute, he doesn't look like that kind of player. I just think they were cherry picking players and not thinking about the system. I think if they bring somebody in that complements him alongside him, then you've probably got a player there. But I don't see it at the minute. I don't see it. And they keep, we're getting linked with this guy. We're going to go with this guy. We're going to go with this guy. They're on about Todd Bowley stepping down now and going to another role. So I just don't know what's going on there. But Declan Rice, like you said before, I think people are getting his price up. If that Fernandez is worth 130, Declan Rice is worth 150.
Well, that's what they're going to aim for. And I almost feel like this summer and the window, the Premier League season hasn't even ended yet, but the works began. But I almost feel like there needs to be a signing made to almost set a marker. Because if Declan Rice goes for 90 million, say, I think that helps price everybody else. Because we know that players are not just priced on their footballing ability, their commercial sense, their social media following, all that plays a part. If there's a player that's signed for a certain amount of money, it's going to kind of set as a benchmark to what people will cost this summer. And I think you'll look at Enzo's such an interesting one because City paid above the buyout clause. They paid above it, and they did. I think they did that so they could pay it over a prolonged period of time because buyout clauses in Portugal and Spain, you have to pay the cash up front, and they essentially didn't want to pay 100 million pounds up front, so they offered like 20 million over it, so they could pay it over 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So if that's not a true barometer for the value of the player, if that makes sense. They've done it for a particular reason. So it's going to be a very interesting summer. And again, I'd love Declan Rice at Man United, but I think United fans, I did a video this morning saying we're linked to Rabiot and Mount, and I basically said that if we sign those two as our main midfielders this summer, I'll be embarrassed because they're better than what we've got. Mount is a better replacement.
What's happened to the Man United scouting network, though? Because look at people like Brighton who are going up to Ecuador, mad places like that, finding these players for peanuts, and they're absolute superstars. And then you go Man United, who just seem to be getting these older players at the older end of the tree and bringing them in like ready-made, but they're not. It's not even ready-made. I mean, they've got Ahmed Diallo. What did they pay for him? And he was on loan at Sunderland.
Well, I think this is the problem Man United have had. We've bought a number of young players. You mentioned there Diallo. We had Palestri. We've got some Garnacho. Obviously, is an academy player, but we bought him young through the academy. There's two Spanish fullbacks that we have now. I'm not as close to our academy as I used to be because everything Man United I've cancelled. I don't even go on the website, so I'm really out the loop. But that's because I've decided to sacrifice what I want to try and get the Glazers out, and that's by the by. But for me, there needs to be a balance. And I look at what Brighton are doing, and I think the difference between them and a lot of the teams at the top of the league, and this is why I've always said, if my son's good enough to play professional football, I would rather him go to a team like Brighton as an academy player or Southampton than I would Man United. Because I think there's a way through. Like a lot of the big teams in the Prem wouldn't be giving 18-year-olds lots of starting time in teams anymore. Maybe one gets to come through like that, but not 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time like you get at Brighton. So I think there's a mixture, but we do need to also get back to bringing in people that you're not really expecting. And the irony is in the summer, we kind of did it with Malacia. I didn't know much about him before we signed him, but he doesn't look much cop to me. He's one of those signings at 11 million. I don't mind it if it doesn't work, if that makes sense. And that's the good thing about it. We've got to get the balance right. I think we can't just spend massive money on star names because historically, not just for Man United, even for Real Madrid, when they did the Galacticos, it didn't work how they expected. They expected to be able to beat anybody all the time. But my interpretation back in those days was the Galacticos, for the amount of money it cost to put together in that day and age, it wasn't a resounding success. They never won the Champions League. So by Real Madrid standards, it's a failure. So you've got to get that balance right, I think.
I mean, now you know the model where City buy the youngsters and send them out all over to the teams, Girona and places like that. That's where your risk is. So if you own 10 football teams around the world and you buy a young kid, he's definitely fitting in one of them somewhere and improving one of them somewhere. And that's why you look at Lommel in Belgium and places like that with the players that we've got out on loan there, Girona, New York. That's why we do it. And if they're good enough, they come to City. If they're not good enough, then they go to Girona or wherever. So the risk level is pretty zero. You can always make money on him. You know what I mean? We got a fullback at Marseille, Issa Kabor, and he's good enough for the Premier League, but they'll sell him millions. Ivar Ilic, Croatian, 12 million. Pedro Porro was sold to Sporting Lisbon with a buyback. Tottenham had to give us 12 mil. You know, you got Sarmiento, young Uruguayan kid who's out there on loan. We've got some players, Kai, we bought a team in Brazil now. We sent him over to Brazil. So City are doing it that way. I think United are going to end up doing it that way. If they get took over, I think they're going to buy a few clubs around the world and they're going to have things like that going on. It's the way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, I agree. Man United have got to move into the 21st century, and we haven't done that for the past decade. We've been left behind. Our academy's decent. You know, we still produce good players, but with the scale that you're operating on, there's no surprise that you're winning the elite development squad title, you're winning the under-18s title, and then those players go out on loan, and at the very least, you're not kind of wasting money because they're being used in other teams elsewhere. And then, if not, you get to sell them as an example. Even look at Lavia as a prime example. I mean, you kind of look at him and think he might have been better cop for you this year than Calvin Phillips because he was out injured. But at the end of the day,
he was a risk. Pep couldn't trust Lavia to come in this season and be understudy to Rodri. So he thought, you know what, he's not ready. That's why we got a buyback into 2024. That's why we can match any bid now. So if Chelsea come in and bid 50 million, we can match it, probably take him back. But looking at him now, in my opinion, he's younger, he's fresher, and he's better than Calvin Phillips.
No, I totally understand that, mate. And I think from my point of view and perspective, Man United definitely need to improve. And when you look at the signings this summer, like, I don't want Mason Mount. I ideally, if we don't get him, I'm not going to be upset or unhappy. If he comes in, I don't rate him that highly, but let's see what he can do playing for a manager that clearly wants him. And I do think it's a player that Ten Hag's approaching. However, Man United fans have also got to look at it from the point of view of, I don't believe he's the main guy we're looking at. I think a Declan Rice or a De Jong or a Caicedo, someone in that central midfield area, there's going to be a mainstay target the club goes for. Suddenly then, if Mount is a backup to Bruno Fernandes, that's not too bad. Better than Donny van de Beek. However, you're right. There has to be a better scouting network developed at clubs like Man United. Chelsea have got to do a better job than just going, right, who's hot property and trending right now because he's good on FIFA? Let's go out and buy him. I do think there's a little bit of that. With the amount of players they bought, there can't have been the level of research into a player needed to know they are right for you right now. Equally, you have no idea what manager or style of football you want to play, and you're just buying individuals. It's crazy. You've got to get the balance right. And you're absolutely spot on what you said sort of 10 minutes ago now. Spending money alone isn't going to guarantee you success. It needs to be strategic. There needs to be a plan for it. We may not always see the plan as football fans. We may think, well, what are you doing that for? That's stupid. However, with these top-class managers, let's see what kind of happens. But, yeah, I can see Mount and Man United, but I hope it doesn't happen. Declan Rice, I think, is going to go to Arsenal, even though they're talking about £100 million hijack. I think what they're trying to do is get Arsenal to bid more and bid quicker, as opposed to just letting it drag on and maybe not quite get as much as they want. But Harry Kane, I do see coming in.